Good morning and welcome to the service of worship at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson. At is figurative in this moment. As you might know, my name is Reverend Bethany Russell Lowe. I have the great pleasure of serving as minister of this congregation. Our community aspires to become as varied as the blooms of the Sonoran Desert. Whoever you are, whoever you love, wherever you are on life's journey, we welcome you. Please join me wherever you are in repeating the phrase, "We welcome you," after each stem. Whatever your sexual or gender identity and however you define family,
we welcome you.
Whatever your age, physical, or intellectual ability,
we welcome you.
Whatever your race, ethnicity, first language, or national origin,
we welcome you.
Whatever your socioeconomic class, your education, your job, or career,
we welcome you.
Whatever your religious or spiritual background or beliefs,
we welcome you.
I extend a special welcome if anyone has found a way to visit us online this morning. If you'd like to learn more about our congregation, please visit uuctucson.org. After worship, everyone is invited to a Zoom social hour, which will feel a little like social hour here in Goddard Hall. We will start with a quick tutorial on Zoom basics with Jamili, and then we will break you out into groups of about 6 to 10 people, about the number that would fit around a table at social hour. You will be invited to check in with them, share about how your week was, and maybe answer a few question prompts we give you. There is a link in the email you should have received last night. Check your spam folder if you didn't see it, to that Zoom social hour, and the link will also be the last slide as part of this online worship this morning. That social hour will start about 5 minutes after our time here ends. And to prepare you very much ahead of time, our offering today will be collected either electronically by going to the online giving button on the front page of our website in the right sidebar, or you can send a check to the church. Either is fine. When we meet in person, now is the time when we would turn to our neighbor and say, "Good morning, how are you? It's so good to see you." Instead, we are going to practice using the chat function, which is to the right of your YouTube video most likely, or maybe just under it. You will, or at Facebook, it's in a different place. You will only be able to chat on YouTube if you have a Google account, know that. If you're on Facebook, I think you just need a Facebook account. If you're able to use this chat, we ask that you type in the chat your name and your answer to this question. How did you help someone this week? How did you help someone this week? If you are not able to use the chat function, now is a time for you to mull over your answer to that question while we hear some music from Brian and Chris.
So after the Pulse nightclub shooting a couple of years ago, Good Morning America ran a segment on Mr. Rogers and what Fred Rogers used to do when tragedies occurred and how he presented things to children. And I was so moved that the chorus of the song popped into my head, and it seemed fitting for today. So look to the helpers. When we are troubled from bad news again, clouding our sense of just where we fit in, how do we find our way? How do we understand? How can we feel good within all the pain? If we look to the helpers whenever we're scared, if there is trouble, we start to despair. So we'll look to the helpers in order to cope, letting them heal us and nourish our hope. Hearts can feel lonely from pain in the world. Sometimes it seems only there's fear all around. But why are we so alarmed? Where can we find support? How can we move towards the common ground? We'll look to the helpers whenever we're scared. When there is trouble, they'll lessen despair. So look to the helpers in order to cope, letting them heal us, nourish our hope. Sometimes we are where we most need to be. Perhaps not today, but sometime we'll see that we can help mend the wounds, we can help ease the pain, we can become what we most need to see. We'll be the helpers when others are scared. We'll hear of the trouble, we'll lessen despair. We'll be the helpers so others can cope. We can help heal and nourish all home. We can help heal and nourish all home.
We're now going to light our chalice here in Holland. If you have a chalice or a candle nearby and a way to light it, I invite you to light it as we read these words together. I'll read them in English, and Brian will lead them in Spanish. May the flame of this chalice, the symbol of our faith, connect us to all who have come before us, all who are with us in body and spirit, and all who are yet to come into being. May it serve as a reminder of our unity and connection across all time and space.
Que la llama de este cáliz, símbolo de nuestra fe, nos conecta a todos los que han venido antes de nosotros, todos los que están con nosotros en cuerpo y espíritu, y todos los que están por venir a ser, que sirva de un recuerdo de nuestra unidad y conexión a través de todo espacio y tiempo. Singing is a way that we can remind ourselves we are not alone. But this experience will be different than what you have experienced before. So what we're about to do is Chris is going to play through the song entirely. It'll give you a chance to prepare yourself. And then I will sing the first verse, but the first verse only. I encourage those of you that can, wear headphones, particularly if you're a person that's bothered by the sound of your own voice and doesn't want to hear it in community. But I'm not going to sing the second verse because I would like you, I'm going to step away and I'll sing it from off mic so that you can put yourself into the music a little bit. So let's see how this works. I encourage you to join whether you are a person that thinks of yourself as a great singer or a person that thinks of yourself as a non-singer. Please let us join in song. This is my song. This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands afar and wide. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But other hearts in other lands are beating with hope and dreams as true and high as mine.
We come to this time with many joys and many sorrows, much anger and much gladness, some worry and some sense of normalcy, perhaps. We are worshiping differently this morning. That should be obvious already. And because we are not physically together, we are going to do our joys and sorrows just a little differently. So if you have a joy or sorrow or something else of meaning in your life, a milestone, a transition, something on your heart that you would like to share, and you can use the chat function on whatever you are using, we invite you in a moment to share your sorrow or those types of feelings first, and then we will share our joys and happier feelings. Again, we'll share sorrows first and then joys. If at any point in either chat you would like to show support for someone, a conventional way to do that in online worship spaces is to put a set of 2 parentheses around their name. So if you wanted to show support for me, you would go parentheses, parentheses, Bethany, parentheses, parentheses. That is a virtual hug, consensual hug. If you cannot use the chat this week, know that we are working on another way for you to share your joys and sorrows next week so that you can fully participate. For now, just please say your joy or sorrow out loud and know that you are held in care this morning. So now, please say out loud or type into the chat box your sorrows. You are held in care. And now please say out loud or type into the chat box your joys this morning. And will you continue with me in the spirit of prayer and meditation, whatever is your own style? These words of prayer this morning come from Brother Richard Hendrick, a Franciscan priest friar serving in Donegal, Ireland. Yes, there is fear. Yes, there is isolation. Yes, there is panic buying. Yes, there is sickness. Yes, there is even death. But they say that in Wuhan, after so many years of noise, you can hear the birds again. They say that just a few weeks of quiet, the sky is no longer thick with fumes, but blue and gray and clear. They say that in the streets of Assisi, people are singing to each other across the empty spaces, keeping their windows open so that those who are alone may hear the sounds of family around them. They say that a hotel in the west of Ireland is offering free meals and deliveries to the housebound. Today, a young woman I know is busy spreading flyers with her number throughout the neighborhood so that the elders may have someone to call on. Today, churches, synagogues, mosques, and temples are preparing to welcome and shelter the homeless, the sick, the weary. All over the world, people are slowing down and reflecting. All over the world, people are looking at their neighbors in a new way. All over the world, people are waking up to a new reality, to how big we really are, to how little control we have, to what really matters, to love. So we pray, and we remember that, yes, there is fear, but there does not have to be hate. Yes, there is isolation, but there does not have to be loneliness. Yes, there is panic buying, but there does not have to be meanness. Yes, there is sickness, but there does not have to be disease of the soul. Yes, there is even death, but there can always be a rebirth of love. Wake to the choices you make as to how to live now. Today, breathe. Listen, behind the factory noises of your panic, the birds are singing again. The sky is clearing. Spring is coming. And we are always encompassed by love. Open the windows of your soul, and though you may not be able to touch across the empty square, sing.
I have a show and tell item today. I wonder how many of you will recognize. It's, I don't know, maybe 3 inches by 2 inches. It's a relic these days. Cynthia, here's the slide. If you know what it is, go ahead and type it in your chat box. If you get a chance, shout it out as you would do here if you were live with me. This cassette tape, some of you remember, and some of you might even have devices to still play one. I don't know if I could dig one up or not. This cassette tape was one sent by my mom to my grandparents, and back and forth, back in the late 70s, early 80s, when my mom had moved away from her hometown and was desperately missing community. And it has on it the voices of my parents and my grandparents from that time. They weren't talking about anything monumental, their day, gossip from the extended family. Cake makes a surprising number of visits on these tapes. I wonder if you have traditions like that in your family from before we had this technology. Now, my family isn't the only ones who did this long-distance communication. According to the Guinness Book of World Records, the longest pen-pal relationships where people exchanged actual paper and actual physical letters was 1939 to, get this, 2018. To be clear, this was 78 years and 106 days by the time this got into the Guinness Book of World Records. A woman, Ruth McGee from Canada, and Beryl Richmond from the UK began corresponding as children through a school pen pal program. They met in person twice. So 1939, you can imagine what was happening in the world when they started their relationship. A long-distance game of chess was by two men in South Africa. They started in 1946. They ended in 1999 when one of the men died. So for those of you doing the math, 1946 to 1999, that is 53 years of correspondence chess. 53 years just by letter. They played 112 matches, and for those of competitive spirits among us, they won and lost about equally. So they were fairly well matched. So what did we learn? What did we learn from these experiences? What do we learn from looking back? Is that we can connect without physical proximity. We can remain in community without being in the same room. With that inspiration, we are rolling out a program that we're calling Circles of Care. These are going to be geographically based, demographically diverse, and what we mean is that we want you to connect with people that are in your community, people that are near you, but also people that might have different needs than you do. So if you're an able-bodied person, maybe we're going to connect you with somebody that's more homebound so that you can check on each other and see what each other needs. We hope that we'll have 10 to 20 households in each circle, and that they can offer friendship, food, medicine, errands running, spiritual resources, as we are able to offer for each other. We also want to be able to provide an early warning for our families and individuals who are in need and are not reaching out to Reverend Bethany and the care team, so that we have an early warning sign for when we have a gap in our safety net. So you're getting an email probably right now from me giving you this link to the Circles of Care. Go ahead and submit your information. We will reach out with you in the next few days to get you connected and to tell you who else is in your circle. And if you're willing to be a circle leader, you can either email me directly or you can just put that on the form, and we'll let you know what your duties and responsibilities are. Mostly, we just want to connect. We want to make sure that we are all safe, and whole through this time of unknown. As you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me, to Reverend Bethany, to our care team. We want to stay in connection, even if it means sending cassette tapes to one another.
Thanks, Jamili. One Sunday each month is designated as a Share the Plate Sunday, on which we give half of the non-pledge collection to a community organization whose mission aligns with ours. This morning, you're going to be able to give online by going to our website and looking for the online giving button in the right sidebar. Or you could send us a check to here at church. You still need to follow the instructions and wait for those at the end. These words are from our Share the Plate recipient this month, the Executive Director of Sister Jose's Women's Shelter, Jean Fedigan. At Sister Jose's Women's Center, our mission is to care for and nurture women experiencing homelessness and a welcoming environment. We have 3 main programs that intersect and offer women a process for moving forward. Our day program is open to all women and provides immediate respite from living without a home. In 2019, there were more than 26,000 visits to the day program, representing 1,300 plus individuals. Over 20,000 breakfasts were provided, 10,000 plus showers, and 7,000 loads of personal laundry. Women rest and catch their breath. Then they begin to participate in classes, enroll with service providers, complete housing assessments, and form safe community with each other, our volunteers, and staff. The day program intersects with the overnight program. Each night, Sister Jose's transforms itself into an overnight shelter in which 36 women sleep safely and enjoy a hot and nutritious dinner. Women enter the overnight program through a nightly lottery. When women experience our overnight program, they quickly request to be part of our extended stay, which guarantees them a safe space every night. To enroll, they develop a 1-week action plan that they successfully complete in order to secure safe overnights for the next week. These meetings are critical to the women's success. Once they have shown themselves to be working independently towards their goals, they are granted a guaranteed space until they can safely move on. One of the unique aspects of our program is that there is no maximum stay limit. So many factors are beyond their control, but our commitment is solid. If a woman has done everything required of her to secure a stable income or safe housing, we will not return her to the streets. Lastly, the CREATE program is our unique employment program that provides residency while completing 16 weeks of curriculum and 8 weeks of job training or employment seeking with outside agencies. Since 2017, 45% of women enrolled in CREATE have completed the 16-week curriculum, 31% completed job training, 45% were housed, and 28% secured an income. These figures show a surprising success rate for chronically homeless women and validate our philosophy that safety and security are a prerequisite to successful programs. So this morning, half of all of the amounts of checks made out to UUCT that have Share the Plate written in the memo line, as well as half of online donations that have STP or Share the Plate put in the In Honor Of line in that system, will go to Sister Jose's Women's Center. If Share the Plate or STP is not written on your check or in that In Honor Of line, it will not be included. The offering will now be given and received in grateful appreciation of our shared hopes and values. Have you heard what Sir Isaac Newton did during the Great Plague of London in 1665? He practiced social distancing, like many of us are doing these days. You see, long before scientists knew so much about bacteria causing plague, some folks still practiced social distancing or physical distancing when there was great illness spreading around. And in 1665, a not yet Sir Isaac Newton was studying at Cambridge University. And when the plague began, Cambridge University sent their students home to finish their studies until the virus had calmed. Students were away from their classes, get ready for this, kids, for an entire year. An entire year, and Isaac Newton thrived. Later in his life, this year was called his Year of Wonders. In this year of time, he, by himself, discovered calculus, developed a theory of optics using prisms to burn a small hole in his curtains, and he also proposed a theory of gravity, all in a year. After Newton returned to Cambridge, he was made a professor within 2 years because they were pretty impressed with what that year had done to him. A Washington Post article recently published about Newton this week said, having time to muse and experiment in unstructured comfort proved life-changing for him, and no one remembers whether he made it out of his pajamas before noon. And no one has to know whether you are in your pajamas right now. Sir Isaac Newton set the bar pretty high for how we might use our time of social distancing. So let me offer you a lower standard, too. This week, I bought chickens. Chicks, to be more particular. You see, my husband Brian and I have been talking about raising chickens for a while in our backyard, or rather, I've been talking to Brian about raising chickens, and he has been slowly coming along. They're better than goats, I've told him numerous times, which he agrees with. And this, it turns out, was the week we decided to get chickens. As a distraction, perhaps, or maybe an opportunity for refocusing. Refocusing on the possibility of life and of learning new things in this moment. An opportunity to remember that chickens, whose bone structure, listen to this, is more closely related to dinosaurs than any other living creature we know of. An opportunity to remember that chickens evolved and survived, and we can too. But for now, it's about life, not dinosaurs. About how a creature 3 days old can jump and run and be trained to come to your hand in 2 minutes with mealworms. Yesterday afternoon, UUCT member Randy Springer sent me this reading from C.S. Lewis. I will read the words he provided to contextualize the reading too. Randy wrote this. In 1948, 3 years after the bombs were dropped on Japan, the English theologian C.S. Lewis, who is the author of the Narnia series for children, addressed those who were especially fearful of the possibility of nuclear war in an essay titled Living in an Atomic Age. The first 3 paragraphs follow, Randy writes. It has been suggested that if you replace atomic bomb with COVID-19, his words still ring true today. Randy says that the only one important difference is that in the current case, there are steps we can take to mitigate the risks to ourselves and others. But in other ways, Lewis's words are currently applicable. This is what C.S. Lewis wrote in 1948. In one way, we think a great deal too much of the atomic bomb. How are we going to live in an atomic age? I am tempted to reply, why, as you would have lived in the 16th century when the plague visited London almost every year. Or as you would have lived in a Viking age when raiders from Scandinavia might land and cut your throat any night. Or indeed, as you are already living in an age of cancer, an age of syphilis, an age of paralysis, an age of air raids, an age of railway accidents, an age of motor accidents. In other words, do not let us begin by exaggerating the novelty of our situation. Believe me, dear, You and all whom you love were already sentenced to death before the atomic bomb was invented. This is the first point to be made, C.S. Lewis writes, and the first action to be taken is to pull ourselves together. If we are going to be destroyed by an atomic bomb, let the bomb come when it comes, find us doing sensible and human things, praying, working, teaching, reading, listening to music, bathing the children, playing tennis, chatting to our friends over a pint and darts, not huddled together like frightened sheep and thinking about bombs. They may break our bodies, Lewis writes. A microbe can do that, but they need not dominate our minds. If the theologian Lewis were alive today, I agree with Randy. I like to think that his list of sensible human activities in this time would flatten the curve. So perhaps a pint with friends wouldn't make his 21st century list. But the point stands. We still have lives to live while we're here. We still have love to give while we're here. We still have things to create, things to learn while we're here. And while I do not expect any of you to measure up to Newton, I would love, no matter what choices you are making these days, for you to stay creative and curious. If you let worry or denial or fear overtake you, you might become as rigid as a wall. If you let yourself be creative, learn something new, be curious about your life around you, you might realize that you are more like water that breaks through cracks in the wall than the wall itself. So here is my third example of how to handle a pandemic. Be you. Really, be the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson, or any other of the literally hundreds of Unitarian Universalist congregations across the continent who are doing exactly what we are this morning, trying something entirely new to many of us, with lots of uncertainties about how to do this even moderately well, much less expertly well. Be you. Because this week, when your board of trustees and I gave you 48 hours to prepare to be right here, right now, you said, a wise choice. I'll be there. I'm not sure, but I'll try. I disagree, but okay. And I'm excited to learn something new. When in your life have you ever heard of church moving that fast? Never. The answer should be never. We couldn't convince you that the color we picked for the bathrooms was the correct color that fast, much less changing worship, this main thing we do so quickly with so much uncertainty and so much anxiety. But these past few days, together, we defied the speed of church. And there is no stopping us now. And I know, because I know you, that not all of you believe that the decision was the right one to make. And I know, because I know you, that gathering online will not be the same for many of us. It's not supposed to be. We are living on the edge of something new. In my conversations with colleagues across the country this week, ministers, religious educators, musicians, administrators, many of us are coming to this understanding that this will be a point in time. This virus outbreak has the potential to change the way church is forever. There are so many things that we have imagined here at UUCT as staff and lay leaders, which were great ideas, but have been put in an imaginary bucket labeled "when time allows." Live streaming, text-to-giving, neighborhood circles, lifespan learning classes, call lists. These are great ideas that we have consistently put in buckets in favor of answering emails, going to committee meetings that could have been emails, and other mundane tasks of running a congregation. But now, with this opportunity to choose intentionally what we do, we have an opportunity to ask each time, is this who we want to be? Is this who we are? A question we could be asking more regularly anyways. There is potential in this moment for us to really understand what it means to care for each other. There is potential in this moment for us to learn new ways of being together that can make our activities more accessible to those with different abilities, different working schedules, different differences I can't imagine. There is potential in this moment for us to really understand who we are. When the buildings and the meetings that could have been emails and the petty arguments over where to put the painting are all stripped away, we're just left with this, just with one another. Friends, you do not need to discover gravity in the weeks to come. You do not need to buy chickens. You do not need to even learn how to use the camera on your computer. But you do need to stay you. You do need to find ways to stay creative, to stay learning, to stay curious, to stay connected. Do not let social distancing become social isolation. You are too important for that. And do not become a wall so rigid with anxiety or fear or denial that you cannot be creative, learn new things, be curious about life. Here is a hard truth, and the first word is the hardest to say. Most of us are going to make it. Most of us are going to make it. Us in the larger sense, the world, and us in terms of all the communities we are connected with. Most of us are going to get through this. All of this, all of us will face this together for as long as it takes. As my colleague, Reverend Sunshine Wolf, says, the best thing you can do right now is to stay away and stay connected. Check in with us. Check in with each other. If you need help, reach out. If you can help, do that. It is that simple and that complicated. I do not know, none of us do, exactly where this moment will lead us. But I do know that we are going there together. Amen. May we make it so, and blessed be. We are going to sing again. We will be singing a song to offer comfort, a song many of us know well. Even in this time of social distancing, we can go places together. We can try new things. We can agree to accompany one another through letters and phone calls, texts and emails, Zoom dates and cassette tape sending. So in that spirit, will you sing with us, "Where you go, I will go." your worship planner's goal for worship today was this: don't fail so badly that they don't come back next week. I hope we have succeeded. If we have failed even at that, send us ideas on how to make this more accessible to you. Hear that word, accessible. And if we have succeeded, send us ideas on how to make this more accessible to you. We are in a time of creative transition, which means that no accessibility need is too small or too big. Your worship team's brains are flexible right now because we are in uber creative mode of trying new things. We look forward to this moment, how this moment can be a movement towards accommodating various needs all the time. We have a few announcements. Many of them have been repeated other places, but listen closely, and we will repeat them again in other places. If your small group or committee would like to meet over Zoom in the coming days, please contact me, and you can use my Zoom room if it's free during the time you want it. Just email me. If your small group or committee has decided to meet here on UUCT's campus, you need to contact Mary to make sure that the space will be open for you, because staff are mostly telecommuting and our custodian Jesus is on vacation this week. Church offices are closed, but staff is working. Contact us all over email and phone for the time being. In the email you should have received on Saturday morning, I listed various office hours, which will be all on Zoom this week. I have one on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, so please check those times and join me on Zoom if you'd like to check in. And as quickly as the news is changing in your own lives, things here are changing just that quickly. So please keep an eye on your emails, on Facebook. We are looking to get something like a blog, something more steady up soon, so you can check that too. And if you check your spam folder every day if you could, because with the number of emails we are sending every day, some of them are landing there. So check your spam folder regularly for emails from office@uuctucson.org. And about 5 minutes after the postlude is done, we are going to gather in our Zoom social hour. So grab your coffee or warm it up, get a snack, take a bio break, and then meet back on Zoom. The link is in the email you received last night, or it will be the last slide on the screen, and we'll leave the live stream going so you have that link right there. In the Zoom breakouts, we will do a little basic tutorial for about 5, maybe 10 minutes, and then we will break you out into groups of 6 to 10 people. And we are going to ask you to check in about how you're doing, and then invite you to answer these 3 questions, and I will send them to you in the Zoom room too. But the 3 questions are this: what is changing in you? What is calcified in you? And what is comforting to you? What is changing, what is calcified, and what is comforting? But before we get there, will you please join me in our words of Chalice Extinguishing? I'll lead them in English, and Brian will lead them in Spanish. We have basked in the warmth and beauty of this flame and this community. As the chalice flame is extinguished, let it carry its glow within. Let us kindle new sparks within these walls and beyond.
Nos hemos disfrutado de la calidez y la belleza de esta llama y esta comunidad. Mientras se extingue la llama del cáliz, permitamos a llevar su resplandor dentro de nosotros, que iluminemos nuevos chispas dentro de estas paredes y más allá. do you have anything written down? That is all I have, because I mean, when I sketch songs, 9 out of 10 times when I sketch songs, that's what I do, and that's the trouble is that means that only I can sing them, because I play them on guitar the way that I play,
Of course.
you know, and,
I mean, I'd be curious to hear how you play it, but yeah.
I hadn't played it in a year and a half, so that's why I asked you to accompany it, because but part of the reason why the chord progressions are probably the way they were is because some, you know, like dum 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 dum, you know, like certain sorts of things like that. But
I had a feeling I pushed more gospel than I think you were.
I know, it was better. It made it better.
Oh, okay.
I liked that. That's partly why, so if I can fix the scanning and fix a couple of
I don't think anything's.
we've been planning on doing this for some time, but this was just kind of like, we just got a major push like we had to do right now.
Check, check, test. I'm just doing a test here to see if the sound is any better than it was during the service. See if the audio problems are cleaned up. So, no, still choppy. Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Hi there, Mary. I see your comments. All right, I've got some more troubleshooting to do then. See if we can figure out what is causing that to happen. Oh, sorry, not Mary. I didn't read that correctly. It's Marty.